signal. The message arrived on a Tuesday afternoon in September. Dr. Elena Vasquez was the first to detect it. She worked at the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Chile, scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life. For 23 years, she had heard nothing but static and the natural rhythms of the universe. Then her equipment screamed. The signal was powerful, impossibly powerful. It originated from a point beyond the galactic rim, from somewhere in the void between galaxies. The frequency was precise, mathematical, deliberate. "This is not natural," Elena whispered, staring at her screens. "This is a message." Within hours, every major observatory on Earth had detected the same signal. Scientists gathered data. Governments demanded answers. The world held its breath as humanity realized the truth. We were not alone. The signal repeated every 47 minutes. It contained complex mathematical patterns, then what appeared to be coordinates, then something else entirely. A sequence that made no logical sense but felt somehow important. Dr. James Wright, head of the International Astronomical Union, called an emergency summit. "We've confirmed the signal's authenticity," he announced to assembled world leaders. "It's definitely artificial, definitely intelligent, and it's definitely meant to be heard." "What does it say?" the American president asked. "We don't know yet. The mathematical portions are clear, prime numbers, geometric constants, universal principles. But the secondary content," Wright hesitated. "It's affecting people differently. Some of our researchers report feeling drawn to it, compelled. Others experience intense fear. Affecting them how? We're not sure. But 3 researchers have had to be hospitalized. They became obsessed with the signal. They couldn't stop listening to it. They stopped eating, stopped sleeping. One of them tried to broadcast a response before we could stop him." The summit erupted in concerned murmurs. Humanity had dreamed of first contact for centuries. No one had imagined it would be like this. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that other species had received the same signal before. Thousands of species across millions of years. Every single one had met the same fate. Extinction. Far across the galaxy, the observation collective monitored Earth's response to the signal with growing horror. The collective was ancient. They had watched civilizations rise and fall for 7 million years. They had seen the signal arrive at countless worlds. They knew exactly what came next. Observer Prime Velketh addressed the Emergency Council. "The humans have received the silence call," she announced. "Their detection equipment activated approximately 6 standard rotations ago. Then they are already lost," another observer said, "as all others were lost before them. The pattern is always the same. The signal arrives. The civilization investigates. They become obsessed with understanding it. They broadcast responses trying to make contact. And then, the harvesters come." Velketh nodded slowly. "The harvesters come, and everything dies." The observation collective had documented this cycle for 7 million years. The signal was bait, a lure designed to attract intelligent species, to make them announce their presence to the universe. And something was listening. The harvesters were ancient, perhaps as old as the universe itself. No one knew where they came from or what they truly were. They appeared after civilizations responded to the signal. They consumed everything. Every ship, every city, every person, every trace that a species had ever existed. Then they vanished, waiting for the next civilization to hear the signal, the next meal to announce itself. "Should we warn the humans?" a young observer asked. "Warning them would require contact. Contact would reveal our position." Velketh's voice carried ancient weariness. "We survive by remaining silent, by never responding to anything, by pretending we do not exist. So we watch them die? We watch them die, as we have watched thousands die before them, as we will watch thousands die after them." Velketh turned away from the display showing Earth. "The universe is cruel. The signal is its cruelest joke. Hope dangled before species desperate to know they are not alone. And behind that hope only death. Perhaps the humans will be different. They never are. But the observation collective was wrong about many things. They were especially wrong about humanity. The response. 3 weeks after first detection, the signal had become a global obsession. News networks broadcast it continuously. Scientists debated its meaning endlessly. Religious leaders proclaimed it divine revelation. Conspiracy theorists insisted it was a hoax. The world couldn't stop talking about it. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched her colleagues succumb one by one. The signal did something to people who listened too long. It burrowed into their minds, made them hungry for more, desperate to understand, unable to think about anything else. She had seen brilliant researchers reduced to hollow shells, playing the signal on repeat while their bodies withered. She had watched friends become strangers, consumed by need they couldn't explain. But Elena herself felt nothing. The signal reached her ears like any other sound. Interesting but not overwhelming. Puzzle but not an obsession. She could listen to it, study it, then walk away and think about dinner or her family or anything else she chose. She wasn't alone in this immunity. General Marcus Webb had noticed the pattern first. Approximately 6% of the population seems unaffected, he reported to the Emergency Council. They can hear the signal without becoming obsessed, without losing themselves. What makes them different? President Martinez demanded. We don't know yet. Different brain chemistry, different psychological profiles, different something. Webb pulled up statistical data. But here's what's interesting. That 6% tends toward certain professions. Military, emergency services, surgeons, high-stress occupations that require emotional control under pressure. You're saying people who can compartmentalize are immune? I'm saying people who can choose what to focus on seem resistant to whatever the signal is doing. Dr. Vasquez was brought to Washington to help lead the research effort. She arrived to find a government in chaos. The signal is a weapon, she told the assembled officials. Not a message, not an invitation. A weapon designed to incapacitate through obsession. That's impossible. A State Department analyst protested. Why would anyone? Because it works. Look around you. 70% of our communications infrastructure staff are compromised. 40% of our power grid operators. The signal is systematically disabling our civilization without firing a shot. Then we block it, jam it, stop people from hearing it. We can't. It's everywhere. The frequency penetrates everything. The only solution is to find people who are immune and put them in critical positions. President Martinez made the hardest decision of his administration. Complete media blackout on the signal. Mandatory screening for all essential personnel. Anyone showing signs of obsession was removed from duty and isolated. It was harsh. Some called it authoritarian. But it worked. While other civilizations across galactic history had collapsed into signal-obsessed paralysis, humanity implemented quarantine protocols. They identified the immune. They protected critical infrastructure. They kept functioning. And they made another crucial decision. We do not respond, General Webb insisted at the Security Council. Under no circumstances do we broadcast anything toward the signal's origin point. But if there's intelligent life out there, then they already know we exist. They've been watching our radio transmissions leak into space for a century. But there's a difference between passive detection and active response. Webb's face was grim. Every instinct tells me this signal is a trap. And traps only work if the prey takes the bait. You're suggesting we ignore the greatest discovery in human history? I'm suggesting we survive long enough to understand what we're dealing with. The debate raged for days. Scientists wanted to respond. Diplomats wanted to respond. The obsessed masses screaming outside government buildings definitely wanted to respond. But the 6% held firm. Humanity would not take the bait. Not yet. The Watchers. 6 months after the signal arrived, the observation collective noticed something unprecedented. The humans are still functioning, Velketh reported to the council. Their civilization has not collapsed. Impossible. The signal has never failed. Every species becomes obsessed. Every species broadcasts responses. Every species dies. Yes, but the humans are different. Velketh displayed the data. They implemented isolation protocols. They identified immune individuals. They maintained social order despite the signal's effects. The council fell silent. 7 million years of observation. Thousands of species documented. No one had ever resisted the signal's pull. Until now. There's more, Velketh continued. They have not responded to the signal. No broadcasts toward the origin point. No attempts at communication. They're treating it as a threat rather than an invitation. How is this possible? We don't know, but we're running analysis on their species, their psychology, their history. Velketh paused. The results are unsettling. Human history appeared on the council's displays. Wars, plagues, disasters, extinction-level events survived through stubbornness and adaptation. A species that had clawed its way to dominance through relentless refusal to die. They are remarkably violent, an observer noted, even toward each other. That violence appears to be their immunity. They evolved in an environment of constant threat. Their brains developed to prioritize survival over curiosity. When faced with something dangerous, their instinct is to fight or flee, not to investigate. Other predator species have faced the signal. They all fell. Human predatory instinct is different. It's paired with something else. Something we've never seen before. Velketh highlighted another data set. They call it paranoia, an assumption that unknown things are dangerous until proven otherwise. A default suspicion toward anything new. Every other species sees the signal and thinks, who is trying to talk to us? The humans see it and think, what is trying to hurt us? The council considered this in silence. 7 million years of watching civilizations die had taught them one lesson. Hope kills. Species desperate for connection reached toward the signal and died for their optimism. Humanity's pessimism might be their salvation. Should we make contact? The young observer asked again. If they're truly resistant, perhaps they could help us. Perhaps together we could. No. Velketh's voice was firm. We do not know if the harvesters have already detected them. We do not know if their immunity is permanent. We do not risk 7 million years of survival on speculation. Then we continue watching? We continue watching, and we hope, for the first time in our existence, that another species survives what is coming. On Earth, Dr. Vasquez made a breakthrough. She had been studying the signal structure for months. The mathematical portions were clear. The coordinates pointed to a specific location in intergalactic space. But the final sequence, the part that drove people mad, had remained incomprehensible. Until she stopped trying to understand it intellectually. It's not a message, she announced at the Research Council. It's a key. A key to what? Our own minds. The sequence is designed to activate specific neural pathways, to create a feedback loop of obsession, to make us desperate to respond. Elena displayed her analysis. Whoever built this signal understood how intelligence works. Not just human intelligence, any intelligence. They found the common threads that all thinking minds share and weaponized them. So the signal itself is the trap. The signal is the bait. The response is the trap. When a species broadcasts toward the origin point, they're announcing their location, their technology level, their defensive capabilities. Announcing to whom? Elena's face was pale. That's what I'm afraid to find out. General Webb authorized a deep space probe. Passive sensors only. No transmissions. No detectable emissions. They would investigate the signal's origin without announcing their presence. The probe launched quietly, beginning a journey that would take years to complete. Humanity would have its answers, whether they wanted them or not. The harvesters. 3 years after the probe launched, it reached the signal's origin point. What it found changed everything. The data returned slowly, traveling across vast distances to reach Earth's receivers. Images first, then sensor readings, then the horrible truth. It's a graveyard. Dr. Vasquez whispered. The origin point was surrounded by debris, not asteroids, not cosmic dust. Ships, millions of ships from thousands of different species. Vessels of every design imaginable, drifting in silent orbit around a structure that defied comprehension. The beacon was massive, a construction that dwarfed planets. Its surface was covered with receivers, dishes and antennae and technologies no human could identify. It absorbed every transmission directed toward it, every response, every hopeful message from species desperate for contact. And at its center something moved. What is that? General Webb demanded. The images showed shapes within the structure, massive forms shifting in the darkness. Things that weren't quite alive and weren't quite mechanical. Things that were waiting. We're analyzing the debris field, a technician reported. The ships, they came from everywhere. Some of them are millions of years old. Others are relatively recent. But they all have one thing in common. What? They all came voluntarily. Their flight paths show no evasion, no combat maneuvering. They flew straight to the beacon, delivered themselves. The signal's obsession, Elena realized. It doesn't just make species respond. It makes them come. The final stage isn't broadcasting. It's pilgrimage. And when they arrive, the probe's sensors had detected energy signatures within the beacon. Massive power consumption, processing, consumption. They're eaten, Elena said flatly. Every species that responds to the signal. Every civilization that takes the bait. They deliver themselves to this thing, and it devours them. Why? What does it gain? The debris field includes organic remains, harvested biomass, extracted neural tissue. Elena's voice shook. It's feeding on intelligence itself, on consciousness, on minds. The harvesters weren't conquerors. They weren't warriors. They were farmers. And the signal was their dinner bell. President Martinez called an emergency session of all world leaders. The information was too important to keep secret, too dangerous to share carelessly. We face an existential threat, Martinez announced. Something has been hunting intelligent life across the universe for millions of years. We are its current target. Then we destroy the beacon, the Russian president suggested. We build weapons. We attack. The beacon is protected by millions of ships from thousands of species. All of them more advanced than us when they fell. General Webb shook his head. We can't destroy it. We probably can't even damage it. Then what do? We do what humanity has always done. We adapt. We survive. We find weaknesses. Webb displayed tactical analysis. The harvesters have one vulnerability that we know of. They respond to signals. They wait for prey to announce itself. They don't hunt. They fish. You're suggesting we stay silent. I'm suggesting we become invisible. Block all transmissions that could reach deep space. Develop communication technologies that can't be detected. Make Earth disappear from cosmic view. And the people still affected by the signal? The ones demanding we respond. They have to be managed. Quarantined if necessary. This isn't about freedom of expression anymore. It's about survival of our species. The debate was fierce. Civil liberties versus extinction. Human rights versus human survival. But in the end, biology won over philosophy. Humanity chose to live. The Silent Earth Initiative began immediately. Transmission restrictions. Technology development. Preparation for a threat that most of the population still didn't understand. And deep in classified facilities, another project began. Project Prometheus. Because hiding wasn't enough for everyone. Some humans looked at the harvesters and saw not just a threat, but an opportunity. If something had been eating civilizations for millions of years, it had accumulated power beyond imagination. And humanity had never been good at leaving power unclaimed. The hunt begins. 15 years of preparation had transformed Earth. The Silent Earth Initiative had succeeded beyond expectations. Human space was dark. No detectable transmissions. No radio leakage. No signals that could attract attention. To outside observers, Earth appeared uninhabited. But beneath that silence, humanity had been busy. General Webb, now Director Webb of the Global Defense Council, surveyed the results from his command center beneath the Swiss Alps. "Fleet status?" he requested. "All vessels in position. 1,200 ships equipped with stealth technology derived from our analysis of the beacon sensors. All weapons systems charged and ready. Probe network functional. We have complete surveillance coverage of the beacon's vicinity. The harvesters remain dormant. And the bait." Dr. Vasquez stepped forward. 15 years had aged her, but her eyes still held that fierce intelligence that had saved humanity from the signal's trap. "Project Prometheus is ready. We've constructed a signal of our own. One that mimics the original in structure but contains a payload the harvesters have never encountered." "Explain." "The original signal exploits the common features of intelligent minds: curiosity, pattern recognition, the need for connection. Our signal exploits a different commonality: hunger." Elena displayed the technical specifications. "Every intelligent being has a survival drive, a need to consume resources, to grow, to expand. You've created bait for the harvesters themselves." "Exactly. When they receive our signal, it will trigger the same obsessive response they've used against others. They'll become fixated on finding its source, desperate to consume whatever is broadcasting. And the source? A trap, a location we've prepared in deep space, surrounded by weapons designed specifically to exploit the vulnerabilities we've identified in their technology." Webb studied the tactical display. The plan was audacious, insane, exactly the kind of desperate gamble that humanity had always excelled at. What if it doesn't work? Then we've revealed our existence to something that's been eating civilizations for millions of years. Then everything dies. Elena met his gaze steadily. "But Director, we can't hide forever. Eventually our technology will leak. Eventually someone will break quarantine and broadcast a response. The harvesters will find us sooner or later. Better to attack on our terms than wait for them to come to us. That's always been the human way." Webb considered the weight of the decision. 12 billion lives depended on what he chose. The entire future of humanity balanced on a gamble based on 15 years of desperate research. "Do it," he ordered. "Send the signal." Project Prometheus activated. Across deep space, a transmission began broadcasting. Not toward the beacon, that would be suicide. Instead, it propagated in every direction except toward the known harvester position. A net of hunger-triggering frequencies spreading across the cosmos. If their calculations were correct, the signal would reach the beacon eventually, reflected and scattered through the void, impossible to trace directly to Earth. And the harvesters would follow it. The response came faster than expected. Sensors detected movement at the beacon. Massive shapes stirring within the structure. Energy signatures spiking to levels that dwarf stars. The harvesters were waking. "They're responding," a sensor officer reported. "Multiple contacts emerging from the beacon." "How many? 7? No. 12? Counting still increasing." The tactical display filled with contacts. Harvester vessels, if they could be called vessels, pouring from the beacon like wasps from a disturbed nest. Each one was massive. Each one was wrong somehow, existing in dimensions that human sensors could barely detect. "They're following the signal," Elena confirmed. "They're hungry. They want to find the source." "Will they find Earth?" "Not if our calculations are correct. The signal's propagation pattern should lead them toward the trap coordinates." "And if your calculations are wrong?" Elena didn't answer. She didn't need to. The harvester fleet moved through space in ways that defied physics. They didn't travel so much as ignore distance, appearing in new locations without crossing the space between. Within hours, they had covered distances that would take human ships years. They were heading for the trap, but some of them weren't. "Director, we have a problem." The sensor officer's voice cracked. "Several harvester vessels have broken from the main group. They're heading toward Earth." Webb's blood went cold. "How many?" 3 contacts. Estimated arrival time: 47 hours. They shouldn't know we exist. The signal couldn't have revealed our position. They don't need the signal. Elena's face was pale. They're hunters. They've survived for millions of years by being thorough. Some of them are checking alternate possibilities while the others investigate the main signal. Can we intercept them? Not without revealing our fleet. And if we reveal our fleet, the main harvester group might redirect toward Earth instead of the trap. Webb faced an impossible choice. Defend Earth and potentially doom humanity anyway. Or let the scouts reach Earth and hope the planetary defenses held. How long until the main group reaches the trap? Approximately 52 hours. 5 hours after the scouts arrived. If Earth's defenses could hold for 5 hours, we proceed with the plan, Webb decided. The fleet maintains position. Earth defends itself. Director, this is what we prepared for. For 15 years, we've built defenses designed to face exactly this scenario. Now we find out if our work was enough. The countdown began. The storm. The 3 Harvester scouts arrived 46 hours later. They emerged from folded space like nightmares given form. Each one was different. Asymmetrical shapes that hurt to look at, surfaces that shifted between states of matter, appendages that served no comprehensible purpose. Earth's defense grid activated immediately. All orbital platforms online, the tactical officer reported. Planetary shields at maximum. Ground-based weapons tracking targets. Director Webb watched from the command center. Around him, humanity's best warriors prepared for a battle no species had ever survived. Fire. Earth unleashed everything. Orbital platforms discharged weapons designed specifically against harvester technology. Beams of disrupted spacetime that shattered their dimensional anchoring. Missiles carrying payloads that existed simultaneously in multiple realities. Kinetic projectiles accelerated to fractions of light speed. The first Harvester scout died within seconds. Its form simply collapsed, dimensional matrices failing under the assault. It dissolved into components that faded from reality, leaving nothing but a spreading wave of exotic particles. First target destroyed, the weapons officer announced with visible shock. We actually killed it. Don't celebrate yet. Focus on the others. The remaining 2 scouts had learned from their companion's death. They moved faster now, dodging and weaving through the defensive fire. Their own weapons activated beams of absolute hunger that consumed everything they touched. 3 orbital platforms vanished before anyone could react. Switch to pattern Delta. Coordinate fire across all remaining platforms. The battle above Earth became a storm of energies beyond human comprehension. Weapons designed by 15 years of desperate research against technologies refined over millions of years. Innovation versus evolution. Human determination versus cosmic hunger. The second scout fell to a concentrated barrage from ground-based installations. Its death scream echoed across dimensions, briefly disrupting electronics worldwide. But the third scout was learning too fast. It adapted to each weapon after a single exposure. Shields that blocked dimensional disruption. Movement patterns that avoided predictive targeting. Counterattacks that specifically targeted human defensive weaknesses. We're running out of options, the weapons officer warned. It's adapting faster than we can innovate. Then we stop innovating and start improvising. Webb opened a channel to all defensive forces. All units, switch to manual targeting. Randomize attack patterns. Stop trying to be clever and just hit it with everything we have. The final assault was chaos incarnate. Human warriors abandoned sophisticated strategies and embraced raw aggression. Weapons fired without coordination. Platforms attacked from unexpected angles. The entire defensive network became a storm of unpredictable violence. The scout couldn't adapt to chaos. It could analyze patterns, predict strategies, counter technologies. But it couldn't handle random, desperate fury. A lucky shot from a ground installation in Argentina caught it mid-dimensional shift. Another from an orbital platform in polar orbit struck the same vulnerability. A third from a submarine-launched missile finished the job. The third scout died screaming. Earth had survived. But the main battle was just beginning. At the trap coordinates, the Harvester fleet arrived to find a carefully constructed ambush. The human fleet emerged from hiding. 1,200 ships against 40 Harvester vessels. The numbers favored humanity, but the Harvesters had destroyed civilizations with far greater advantages. Admiral Patricia Okonkwo commanded from the flagship Defiance. All ships, engage. Pattern Omega. Make them bleed. The trap triggered. Space itself became a weapon. The coordinates had been chosen specifically, a region where natural phenomena could be exploited. Gravitational anomalies, radiation pockets, dimensional weak points that human scientists had spent years mapping. The Harvesters found themselves fighting not just a fleet but an environment designed to kill them. Their dimensional shifting failed in the unstable space. Their adaptive shields struggled against weapons arriving from unpredictable angles through warped spacetime. Their hunger beams dissipated in the radiation-saturated void, and humanity pressed the advantage. Ships died on both sides. Human vessels consumed by Harvester attacks. Harvester forms shattered by coordinated assaults. The battle raged for hours, each moment bringing new casualties, new adaptations, new desperate gambits. Admiral Okonkwo led from the front. Her flagship took damage that would have crippled lesser vessels. Her crew died around her, but she kept fighting, kept commanding, kept humanity in the battle. Signal from Earth, her communications officer reported. The scouts have been destroyed. Planetary defenses held. Good. Now let's finish this. The final push began. Every surviving human ship concentrated fire on the remaining Harvesters. Weapons emptied. Reactors overloaded. Crews sacrificed themselves to deliver killing blows. One by one, the Harvesters fell, until only one remained. The largest of them, the oldest, something that might have been their leader or their mother or their god. It hung in the devastated battlefield, surrounded by the corpses of its kind. And it spoke. The transmission filled every human ship simultaneously. Not words, not language, something deeper, a direct communication to the mind itself. You should not exist. Admiral Okonkwo answered aloud, knowing somehow it would hear. We do exist. We're humanity, and we don't give up. We have consumed millions. Your defiance is meaningless. Then consume us. Try. The final Harvester attacked, and the trap's final mechanism activated. Dr. Vasquez had designed one last weapon, something held in reserve, something that required a Harvester to be close enough to touch. The weapon was humanity itself, a signal broadcast from every surviving ship. Not the bait signal, something new, a concentrated burst of human consciousness, human emotion, human experience, fear and love, rage and compassion, despair and hope, everything that made humanity what it was, compressed into a single transmission and forced into the Harvester's mind. For a species that had only ever consumed, the experience of being filled was devastating. The Harvester screamed, convulsed, collapsed. It died not from damage but from overload, from experiencing in one moment everything it had denied itself for millions of years, from finally understanding what it had been destroying. The battlefield fell silent. Humanity had won. The new dawn. The aftermath took years to process. Humanity had done what no species had ever accomplished. They had defeated the Harvesters. They had survived the signal. They had proven that intelligence could exist without becoming prey. The Observation Collective made contact 3 months after the battle. Observer Prime Velketh appeared on human communication systems, her ancient face filled with emotions her species had forgotten how to express. We have watched you, she said. For years. We watched you resist the signal. We watched you prepare. We watched you fight. And we watched you win. Director Webb received her transmission in the rebuilt command center. The war had cost him friends, health, years of his life, but humanity still stood. You could have helped us, he replied. You could have warned us. Shared what you knew. We have hidden for 7 million years. We have survived by never drawing attention, by never risking contact, by never hoping. Velketh paused. You have shown us another way. What do you want? To learn, to understand, to perhaps, for the first time in our existence, stop merely surviving and start living. Velketh made a gesture that might have been respect. You destroyed something that has terrorized the galaxy since before our species evolved. You proved that the signal can be beaten, that the harvesters can be killed. What does that mean for the galaxy? Everything. Species that have hidden for millennia are emerging. Civilizations that gave up hope are rekindling it. The signal still broadcasts from the beacon. We don't know how to stop it, but now everyone knows it can be resisted. Webb considered this. Humanity had set out to survive. They had ended up liberating a galaxy. The beacon needs to be destroyed, he said. As long as it exists, new species will fall to its trap. Agreed. We are prepared to share everything we know. Technology, intelligence, resources. The collective will follow humanity's lead in this endeavor. Follow our lead? You earned that right, through blood and sacrifice and the kind of courage we had forgotten existed. Velketh's ancient eyes held something new, something like hope. Humanity proved that the universe doesn't have to be a dark forest, that intelligent life doesn't have to choose between hiding and dying. You showed us all a third option. Fighting back. Yes, fighting back. And winning. The alliance formed quickly after that. 47 species joined what became known as the Prometheus Coalition. Each contributed what they could. Technology, ships, knowledge accumulated over millions of years of hiding. Humanity contributed something else. Something that couldn't be quantified or duplicated. Leadership, not through dominance or conquest but through example. Dr. Elena Vasquez led the scientific effort to understand the beacon. Her team included researchers from a dozen species, working together on problems that had seemed unsolvable for millions of years. We've found something, she reported to the Coalition Council after 2 years of work. The beacon isn't just a signal transmitter. It's a prison. A prison for what? For the original harvester. The first one. The one that created all the others. Elena displayed her findings. Millions of years ago, something trapped it here, imprisoned it in the beacon. But it found a way to reach out, to create servants, to feed despite its captivity. Who imprisoned it? We don't know. The technology predates anything in our records. But they left instructions. A way to destroy the beacon and its prisoner permanently. What do we need? More power than any single species possesses. But together, Elena smiled. Together we might just be enough. The final assault on the beacon took 5 years to prepare. Every species contributed ships. Every world contributed resources. The largest fleet in galactic history assembled for one purpose. Ending a threat that had terrorized intelligent life since the beginning. Admiral Okonkwo, now Fleet Admiral of the Coalition, commanded from her new flagship, the Humanity's Hope. This is what we were born for, she told the assembled fleet. Not just humans. All of us. Every species that ever looked at the stars and dreamed of connection instead of consumption. Every civilization that refused to accept that the universe must be cruel. Today we end the harvesters. Today we silence the signal. Today we prove that life, in all its forms, will not go quietly into the darkness. For the Coalition, for the future, for everyone who ever hoped for something better. The fleet advanced. The battle for the beacon was brief and brutal. Harvester defenders, newly spawned from the trapped original, threw themselves against the Coalition forces. But they were too few, too weak, too desperate. The weapons struck the beacon's core simultaneously. Energy from 47 species. Technology combining innovations from across millions of years. Unity made manifest in a single devastating blow. The beacon shattered. The signal died. And somewhere in the depths of destroyed machinery, something ancient finally stopped screaming. 5 years later, a monument stood at the site of the former beacon. Representatives from every Coalition species had contributed to its construction. It floated in the void, visible across light years, a testament to what cooperation could achieve. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before it, now elderly but still sharp. "We came to the stars hoping for connection," she said at the dedication ceremony. "We found a trap instead. A signal designed to exploit our hopes and destroy us for daring to reach out. We could have surrendered to fear. We could have hidden forever. We could have accepted that the universe was simply too dangerous for dreamers. Instead, we fought. We won. And we built something the harvesters could never understand. A community. A family of species that chose trust over terror, cooperation over isolation, hope over despair." She looked at the gathered representatives. Humans and observers and dozens of others. Enemies become allies. Strangers become friends. An ancient signal reached Earth. Every civilization that heard it went extinct. Until us. We didn't survive because we were stronger than others. We survived because we were stubborn. Because we refused to believe that the universe had to be cruel. Because when something tried to eat us, we decided to eat it back. The crowd laughed. Even some of the non-human species had learned to recognize human humor. The signal is dead now. But new signals are being sent. Our signals. Invitations not to consumption but to cooperation. To anyone listening, you are not alone. You don't have to be afraid. There is another way. Elena smiled at the stars. "Come find us. We'll be waiting. And this time, the universe actually will be glad you answered." The monument glowed with the light of 47 suns. Humanity had answered a signal that killed civilizations. And in doing so, they had become the signal themselves. A message of hope broadcasting across the cosmos. An invitation to something better. The beginning of everything.